What's going on? Vincent Rapisardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com. So in this YouTube video, I want to talk about the Giants wide receivers. And specifically, I want to talk about Darius Slayton, Golden Tate, and Sterling Shepard. Those three are going to be the focal point of their passing offense in the 2020 season. So let's talk about the things that they do well and things that they can either improve on or maybe they're just not very good at. And as always, when I do these film room videos, it's based on advanced metrics. So I'm going to give you video examples here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be built around the perspective based on the numbers, what the numbers are telling me, the broader perspective, instead of just looking at one play here and one play there and just telling you subjectively what I think a player is good or bad at. I'm going to use the numbers to back me up, and I'm going to say, look, this is what a player is good at, judging by what the numbers are telling me, or what the player needs to improve on, or maybe what he's just not very good at, depending on what the numbers are telling me. And these videos, these film room videos, they're just examples to show you what the numbers are telling us. So let's start with Darius Slayton. Last year he was a rookie, 5th round pick, very few expectations, but he really emerged as a good deep ball home run hitting threat for the Giants. So he averaged 15.4 yards per reception, which was 17th among all pass catchers. He also averaged 14 yards per target, which was also 17th among pass catchers. So let's look at this play specifically. Week 8 versus the Detroit Lions, Daniel Jones hits Darius Slayton for a 28-yard touchdown. And as a rookie, Slayton had 8 receiving touchdowns, which was tied for 9th among all pass catchers last year. And I think this play specifically just goes to show the amount of trust that Jones had in a player like Slayton to go out and make contested plays like that, big plays down the field. But Slayton did have trouble when it came to creating separation. He only averaged 2.2 yards of separation, which takes into account passes that were either completed or incomplete towards him. The NFL average is 2.83 yards, so he was in the bottom 10 among wide receivers according to NFL Next Gen Stats in that category. So let's look at a play specifically. Week 17 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Daniel Jones is looking to make a big play down the field. He's looking for his big play wide receiver, Darius Slayton, and he is completely blanketed. Zero separation whatsoever. And so Slayton is going to make these big plays, obviously at high yards per reception, as I just mentioned, 15.4 yards, 17th best among all pass catchers last year. But at the same time, there are going to be plays like this where, like I said, he just doesn't create enough separation, and there's just about zero chance to complete that pass. So let's move on to Golden Tate. So with Darius Slayton, he's a big play wide receiver. He catches the football down the field. He was tied for 13th among pass catchers last year when he came to yards before catch per reception. Golden Tate was tied for 53rd among pass catchers last year in yards before catch per reception. So basically what that's saying is Darius Slayton catches the football downfield and Golden Tate tends to catch shorter passes. But Tate did excel when he came to yards after catch per reception. Last year he was 9th among wide receivers in that category, and in 2018 he was 5th among wide receivers in that category. So that's the kind of player that he is. He's going to excel when it comes to getting the football and making defenders miss after the catch. So let's look at this play specifically. Week 10 versus the New York Jets, and Tate takes a screen and turns it into a 61-yard touchdown. Again, yards after the catch, which differs from the touchdown video that I showed you before from Darius Slayton. So it seems like Tate and Slayton complement each other very well, but both need to work on creating separation. Both wide receivers were in the bottom 10 when it came to average separation yards last year, averaging 2.2 yards of separation. The league average is 2.83, so that's either something they need to get better at, or maybe that's just who they are at this point. Daniel Jones was 3rd among quarterbacks in aggressiveness percentage, which takes into account throws into tight windows. So either that is on Jones and his decision-making, or it's on Slayton and Tate based on their inability to create separation. So I want to talk about something else. A stat called yards after catch above expectation. So basically the expectation is based on how fast the wide receiver's running, how open they are, and how many defenders are in the area. Golden Tate was 3rd among wide receivers in yards after catch above expectation. And this is a tricky stat. So it's good, but it can also tell you that maybe that player got a little bit lucky. And I'll give you a good example. So in baseball, there's a stat called BABIP, batting average on balls in play. And basically, if a pitcher has a high BABIP, that could either mean that they're unlucky or maybe their defense just isn't very good. Same thing if they have a low BABIP. That could mean that they have a good defense or maybe they're getting lucky. So basically, the stat in the analytics community takes into account that when balls are in play, the pitcher has no control. They control home runs that go over the fence and they control walks, but they don't really control what happens when a ball is in play. So again, if they have a low batting average on balls in play, that could mean that, well, maybe their defense is good and they're making plays out there. Or maybe they're getting lucky, that pitcher, and they're hitting line drives right at the third baseman or right at the shortstop or whatever it might be. If they have a high batting average on balls in play, maybe they're getting unlucky. Maybe, the ball's just finding a hole. Or maybe the defense just isn't very good. They're not getting to play. They're not making plays that they should be making. So that stat reminds me exactly of this stat. And I'll give you the perfect example of what I'm trying to talk about. So this play specifically, week 15, this is a 51-yard touchdown to Golden Tate. And let's just watch this play. So this is Eli Manning's last game as the starter. And this ball is like tipped, juggled. Can't believe he caught it. And it's a bunch of yards after catch. And it's a touchdown for the Giants. Here's the same play from a different angle. I'm going to slow it down right around here, and you're going to see this ball, I guess, get deflected. Golden Tate juggles it. He catches it. Safety Adrian Colbert whiffs on the tackle. And then all of a sudden, on a play that Golden Tate probably didn't even expect to catch, it turns into a 51-yard touchdown with a bunch of yards after the catch. And this is the perfect example of what I'm talking about in terms of the yards after catch above expectation stat being a little bit fluky, or there being a little bit of luck involved. And overall, it adds context to his season. Now look, over the course of his career, he's proven that he's good when it comes to yards after catch. So I'm not saying that. But it does give context on his season in general, that maybe he got a little bit lucky when it came to yards after catch. And finally, I want to talk about Sterling Shepard. So last year, he had concussion issues. He missed 6 games. And I think it clearly hampered his play. He only averaged 10.1 yards per reception. He was 138th among pass catchers in yards after catch per reception, and he was 71st among pass catchers in yards before catch per reception. So he wasn't making plays downfield. He wasn't making plays after the catch. It just wasn't a productive season. He did well when it came to creating separation, 3.1 yards of separation. The league averaged 2.83, so that was a category he did well in. But overall, he really didn't offer the Giants much, especially coming off a 2018 season. I mean, you saw a real drop from 2018 to 2019. 2018, he averaged 4.8 yards after catch per reception. In 2019, only 3.1 yards after catch per reception. In 2018, 8.5 yards before catch per reception. And then in 2019, only 7 yards before catch per reception. So I think there's a good argument to be had that the concussion situation certainly affected him in a big way. So Golden Tate was 3rd among wide receivers last year in yards after catch above expectation. So he was outperforming the expectation when it came to catching the football and running with it. In terms of Sterling Shepard, he was actually the 2nd worst pass catcher in the NFL when it came to yards after catch above expectation. So he was performing under the expectation of what NFL Next Gen Stats and their data tracking thought he should have performed to. So let's watch this play specifically. I think that this is a great example of what I'm trying to talk about. So it looks like if we slow it down here, there's kind of a hole for Shepard to hit, get some more yards. Instead, he bounces it outside, and he's tackled and really gets nothing. Again, this is just one example. But like I said, when it comes to the stats, I use the stats as a broad perspective. The stats give us a broad perspective of what's happening, and then we can go back and look at specific plays. And I think this is the perfect play of where Shepard could have gotten more yards after the catch and instead didn't, right? And didn't reach that expectation level that NFL Next Gen Stats and their data tracking thought he should have reached. Overall, the Giants have an interesting group of wide receivers, but I don't think it's the perfect unit for Jason Garrett's Air Coryell offense where defenses are attacked down the field. Last year, Dak Prescott was 6th among quarterbacks in average intended air yards, so Jason Garrett likes to throw the football down the field. And aside from Darius Slayton, the Giants don't have much depth when it comes to big play wide receivers. Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard don't really offer that. That's why I think in a recent YouTube video I talked about this. I think that they should go out and try and make a trade. Jaguars wide receiver Chris Conley, I think, is kind of the perfect trade option. Big play wide receiver, and it gives them another player aside from Darius Slayton that can stretch the field and attack defenses down the field. So that's all I got. Vincent Rappisardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Vince Rappisardi. I also have a podcast, the Big Blue Unbiased Podcast, which is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all those other platforms. If you like this kind of content, give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. Thanks again, Vincent Rappisardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com.